Commissioners, and let's all stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. You want the roll first?
Roll call.
Okay. We'll do the roll call. Sorry.
Roll call first.
Roll. Do it quick. Commissioners, let's start with the roll.
Chair
Our clerk.
Jean Enright,
Present.
Vice Chair Wayne Richards,
Here.
Secretary Treasurer DeAndre Poole,
Here.
Commissioner Blair Siglin,
Here.
Commissioner Varissa Lal Das,
Present.
Executive Director Manuel Almeida,
I'm here.
Court Counsel John Fumero.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Please let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. With the agenda, are there any clerk? Now let's go to the agenda. Are there any additions, deletions, reorganizations of the agenda?
There are
Any?
none,
There
Madam
are
Chair.
none?
Nope.
Thank you. Approval of the agenda. I need an approval.
I said that.
All in favor, say aye. Agenda approved. Minutes, approval of the minutes.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye. Aye, motion carries 5-0. Now, let's go on. Now we will go to E1. We've had the
F1.
approval. F1, presentations and announcements. Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Commissioners, we have a presentation from Meals on Wheels. Ms. Maura Santry, I hope correctly, is here for a 5-minute presentation. Maura?
Thank you. And I will take all of the 5 minutes. Hello, I am Maura Sartori. I am here with Meals on Wheels of the Palm Beaches. And I just wanted to say a quick thank you to the board and Commissioner Siglin for his recent support of our Pay It Forward fundraiser. In case you're unfamiliar with it, Meals on Wheels hosts this fundraiser every year at Thanksgiving time. What we do, it's a major collaborative effort. We recruit the local, most notable chefs from the finest restaurants, country clubs, hotels, and bakeries to all bake and donate pies. They agree to do so, and we take pre-sales for them on our website leading up to the Thanksgiving holiday. We have local businesses that buy them for clients, and then individuals that buy them as well. And as I mentioned, it's a huge collaborative effort with a lot of partners that we have, and all of those pies are available to pick up that week of Thanksgiving. So last year, this program for us raised over $175,000, which provided 25,000 wellness checks to homebound seniors and nutritious meals to homebound seniors here in Palm Beach County. If you are unfamiliar with the organization, we are locally based. We fund ourselves, or we're funded by the community and its generosity. Our mission is to provide wellness checks and freshly prepared meals to homebound seniors and veterans within Palm Beach County. We were incorporated in 2010. That year, we served 1,000 meals with only 4 volunteers. And just this last year, we served 90,000 meals with over 250 volunteers. And fittingly enough, 54,000 of those meals we served last year were within your taxing district. So that's a huge amount of our clients that are your constituents. Again, I just wanted to share, my gratitude for the commissioner and for him getting behind it. And again, we receive no government funding, so it's initiatives and fundraisers like this that keep us going. So I'm hoping that as we roll through the year and we get a little closer to September, October, I can come back and hopefully get some of you all, some additional commissioners behind it as well. So,
Thank you very much for coming.
thank you.
Are you Wendy's sister?
Sister-in-law.
Okay. Nice to meet you.
Likewise.
Thank you. We'll be more than happy out next year. I'm pretty sure all our commissioners would be happy to continue.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
welcome the opportunity.
Hey, Jean.
Thank you.
And the staff.
Also, the staff. We all will help.
They like
Thank
to
you.
buy, right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
F2?
F2, presentation, Commissioners, from the Wild Dolphin Project. We have Melissa Infante here. Melissa?
Hi, everyone. I first want to say thank you so much for taking the time to hear from people like me and Meals on Wheels. We really appreciate the opportunity to have the chance to get in front of you and ask and say thank you for things. So I work for the Wild Dolphin Project. We're a nonprofit. We started back in 1985. Dinners Herzing started the project to kind of immerse yourself and tell the story of wild dolphins and how their communication and behavior happens in the wild. And that was the very first part of the project. Then we, about 5 years ago, partnered with Georgia Tech to work on some underwater wearable computers so we can kind of delve into if there's a way to communicate with these animals in the wild on their own terms and in their world. And so as a nonprofit, we're always trying to, be funded. There's only 4 of us that work there, the research director and her assistant, myself and our captain, so we're very small. And we rely on volunteers in the community to help, make things happen. So 6 years ago, we started our Wild Ocean Science event. It's our one fundraiser that we do every year, and we try to bring in a well-known speaker who's well-known in the conservation field and marine science. This year, we have Carl Safina will be our main presenter, and he's well-known for a few books that he's written, as well as he's the host of PBS's Saving the Oceans series. So he's the New York Times bestselling author of a lot of his books. So in the past, we've had the opportunity to invite some students to come to the event for free. Miles O'Brien is the Master of Ceremonies, and he's the PBS NewsHour correspondent, so he's really known in the media field. So it's a really great opportunity for students in our local area to not only meet marine biologists, people in the media realm, writers, and get inspired to really make a change, and for themselves and for their community. So last year we were really grateful that you guys had supported our event. We were able to invite kids from the Gale Academy, Palm Beach State College, the Pine School, Kaiser University, Palm Beach Maritime Academy, and Palm Beach Day Academy, and G-Star. So I was hoping that this year we can ask for another sponsorship for our event. We would gear that towards inviting kids that can come to the event for free.
Thank you. Last year, we were more than happy to support this organization. Your brochures are beautiful. I don't know how you can afford to publish them. And I know that the commissioners would love to do it this year. Question, Mrs. Sicklin?
Yes. Could you enlighten me on where are dolphins? Are they all down the whole Atlantic and Pacific, or are they all over? Or?
Yeah, they are. The 2 species that we study are the Atlantic spotted dolphins, which are here off of our coast, as well as the Bahamas, all over the Atlantic, and then also the bottlenose dolphin. So there's the 2 different species. And most often out here you'll see actually both kinds. In fact, just a few days ago, there was a big pod of about 50 dolphins out there. So they were right off of our coast, which is really nice. So in the wintertime, we're here surveying our coast, but in the summertime, we're out in the Bahamas with our, well-known, animals that we've been studying for 30 years. And what's really cool about the spotted dolphins is they get spots as they get older. So when we're underwater, we can recognize certain dolphins. So they are born with no spots, and they get spots as they get older, so we can recognize these dolphins.
Happens to us also.
Yeah, I was going to say.
This marks my age.
And they travel in pods, right? Mm-hmm. Like they're very together, like a family, right? Is that what I read somewhere?
They sure are. And in fact, I think in 2015 we had a big hurricane that came and displaced a lot of them. And what we've noticed, or we've been able to observe, is that when they have a usual, every summer we see them in the same area year after year, that they were displaced. And then in looking back, we got some data from NOAA that suggests that there was a crash in the food chain, maybe that affected the chlorophyll. I guess the chlorophyll levels dropped in that area, so it's suggestive of a food chain crash. And they moved miles and miles away, and we had to find them somewhere else.
Right.
So it's just kind of neat to see where they travel from and to. And then there was where they moved to, there was an established community there. And just to kind of watch them integrate, there's a lot of, fighting and, odd behavior at first, and then now, a couple of years later, they're starting to, have friendships, mating, and making babies, and that's what happens. You get displaced, you have to find a new home, and you make yourself at home.
Amazing.
Commissioner Richards?
So the events coming up, I would think we need to take action at this meeting. Madam Clerk, did we make individual contributions last year? Is that what we're looking at doing? Do you know?
I think it was individual contributions, that's correct.
I would like to give 150. If all of us can give 150, that would. Okay, let's say 250. I don't have that much money, but I'll match you and do 250 too. And then if they all match us, because this is a really worthy cause, and I know your brochures are beautiful, like I said before. And do you get them published for free? Because
We do.
they have all of the.
Right,
Okay.
but yeah, we have it's an in-kind donation from a printer up in Stewart that does all the
Okay,
printing
because
for
they
us.
do an outstanding job.
They do. That's definitely not in my wheelhouse.
Okay, we'll be more than happy to assist, and if you can make sure, so 250 from each commissioner. Mr. Pooh, Dr. Pooh, I'm sorry, and Commissioner.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you guys.
So-
We really appreciate it. I will send along some photos of the kids saying a big thank you to you guys. They like it. Yeah. Thank you guys.
You're more than welcome. Thank you. Now let's proceed. Consent agenda. Do we have approval of the consent agenda?
I will move approval.
I need a second. Any discussion, concerns? All in favor of the consent agenda, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you very much. Let's go to district. Wait a minute. District reports, Mr. O'Meara.
Thank you. Commissioners, we start with good news. The recently purchased of our tug company by the company called E.N. Vizo and Sons had notified us that they have gone ahead and purchased a tractor tug. You see a picture on the screen, plus you have a picture in your folders. This is an excellent news for all of us, particularly for the pilots. They have always shown concerns with the available horsepower of the tugs that we now have on port. With the addition of this particular tractor tug, it would facilitate, particularly in those days where we have high winds and very choppy seas. Not only that, but also if you can just vision that in the first slip, this tractor tug will be able to maneuver between the ships, whereas the tugs that we now have will not be able to do that. So this is really, really good news for all of us. Again, it will facilitate the necessary maneuvering of vessels, particularly when seas are rough. One question that he had is he would like to make a presentation to the board in the month of February, and they would like to arrange to have this tug here during the day, so if any of the commissioners would like to board it and actually go out, they'd be more than willing to do that. But that will take a little bit more coordination, and as we get closer, I will be contacting each of you commissioners.
Okay.
Moving on. Again, land capacity constraints on all ports in South Florida. I recently participated in a telephone conference with the Deputy Port Director of Miami. His name is Andrew Hecker. He informed me that the Port of Miami is studying the possibility of developing, guess what, an off-terminal container yard or an inland port that could be utilized by all South Florida seaports. Does that sound familiar?
Mm-hmm.
They are very aware of our Inland Port Initiative and wanted to create a South Florida Regional Port Committee to further study the possibility of developing this type of facility. What struck me was that they are talking about west of Lake O. And I told them, we have gone through this, and if you like, we will definitely participate, but please keep in mind, and I've mentioned this before, FDOT has contracted Cambridge to finish a study, sort of an update for the need of inland ports. That study should be completed by next month. So we'll have something by March timeframe. But essentially what they've asked me to do is if we are willing to participate in their committee, and I gladly agreed to do so. And I've also informed Richard Pinsky, because it appears to me that Port of Miami is bypassing FDOT and going straight to the politicians up in Tallahassee. So we're closely monitoring any developments.
I just want to add now, years ago, remember, the state of Florida did a feasibility study, and they spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on that study. And after they completed the study, then they were saying the millions of dollars involved in even doing the project so great until the governor said, no way. Although the state had spent hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, when they finished the study, my understanding is that, what was it, 50 million or 100 million or some big astronomical fee because they were trying to uplift the rail on Highway 27. And then they had the problem with Florida Crystal and the land and then all of the environmentalists. I mean, it got to be a whole lot of things into play. And so, therefore, the governor said no. So I think how they're thinking now, I think maybe they should do it the backwards way. Maybe go to Tallahassee, find out, hey, are we going to really invest? And then look at all the people involved, because you have all the farmers down that road. And then you have the uplift of 27. And the figure they came out with us, the state of Florida said, no way. So,
Well, if you recall, Commissioner, at that time, 1 mile of rail back in the early
It was a fortune.
2010 was $1 million. I can only imagine that's about 1.5 now.
right.
And they're looking from Miami-Dade all the way up to Lake Okeechobee. That is a monumental task because of the environmental issues, but more importantly is the cost.
And the money. And they looked at also the service, and then Walmart did not want to participate because they already had an inland distribution center, and then we couldn't get
On the East
Costco,
Coast.
Walmart, and all the other companies just said no. And if you think about all of that now, if you look at the Beeline Highway going west across from Pratt & Whitney Aircraft, that you have Amazon here. And Amazon looked at that also, and they built their distribution center not far from Pratt & Whitney on the north side of the road, because they refused to go west because they talked about the money that was involved down 27, and Amazon also talked about they would have to transport back into eastern Palm Beach County in the East Coast. So then they
Commissioner, I
settled
have a question when you
for the
finish.
corner. Right.
No, I just was going to say that I do think we need to be at the table.
I agree.
So, because you say west of Lake O,
Yes.
is that Henry County?
Yes,
Yes,
it
sir.
is.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
but we still need to be at the table because that's in our backyard.
If nothing
Commissioner-
else, it'll just allow us to monitor where they're headed with this and what's behind door number 3, basically.
Commissioner Sicklin?
Yeah, I think Richard Pinsky should definitely get involved in this before we
Yeah.
commit to anything whatsoever.
Oh, yeah.
We just don't want to cross hairs with anybody in Tallahassee. So let's find out how feasible this is, and it
Sure.
wasn't just a Miami thing that day. Yeah, let's see if the other ports want to
Yeah.
get in this and help fund the study. So
Sure.
I think before we commit to
Now,
anything, we need
The current study by Cambridge has already been funded and has been paid for. There's no problem there. I'm more interested in seeing what the Port of Miami is trying to do.
Yeah.
What is it they're trying to achieve? Now, one more thing. If you're in Miami and you're going to move a container all the way out west of Lake O, and what you do with that container later, it makes absolutely no sense to me.
Yeah.
But again, we'll monitor. I know that if we
Yeah.
talked, we will continue to talk about
Yeah, it
this.
doesn't make sense to me, but then again, what do I know? But let's be all ears.
I think you're right, and we'll let Richard Pinsky look at this. But one other thing that I think is very important, when they say inland port, it is not a port. It is a distribution center. And somehow people associate it with ports, but it's not. It's just a big distribution center. And the name was given that years ago by Commissioner Priscilla Taylor, but it's a distribution
Right.
center.
All right, so again, based on what I hear, we will participate closely,
And just
work
monitor.
with our Richard Pinsky. All right, moving on. Just recently, I heard that there was a beautiful 90-degree weather, beautiful sun. during the Martin Luther King January 14th. There are some pictures like we normally do. Do we have them? There you go. You can barely see I'm assuming that on the right-hand side, that's Commissioner Poland. I'm assuming that's him. And then, of course, Commissioner Diaz and a picture of the entire group. I hear it was a lot of fun, but it was very cold, so I was told.
And I just also wanted to thank our port staff for all the hard work that they did into making that float and then also handing out sunglasses. They walked the entire way in the freezing cold, so we're all, grateful for that.
Believe me, I heard about it. All right, speaking of parades, one more coming up on March 11th. It is the parade of the St. Patrick's Parade over in Palm Beach Shores. Our PIO will email each of you more information on the event. Pretty much the same. We would probably bring the same truck, and it looks like a boat or a ship. All right, lastly is schedule of events. As you can see, the Ports Technology, Terminal Technology this year is up in Savannah. There is one very, very important, and I know that Richard Pinsky will be talking a little bit more about this, and that's the Palm Beach County Days, March 7th and 8th. That's up in Tallahassee, Mark. And I will look forward to hearing from what he has to say about that. With that, Commissioners, if you have any questions, if not, I'll gladly sit down.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. It's my pleasure to give you your engineer's report. First item I'll update you on is the Berth 1 permitting, which is very near and dear to all of our hearts here. Berth 1 permitting right now has reached its final stage. It's with Fish and Wildlife Service. I'm in the process of engaging Fish and Wildlife because they're the only one of the agencies that doesn't have a required time frame to take action on this project. So we'll be working with Fish and Wildlife to make sure any questions are answered quickly. You know that last time I mentioned that we had issues with timing of the manatees and the North Atlantic right whale. And I'll admit, as your port engineers, I'm thinking, well, what are we worried about North Atlantic right whales? We don't have any here. Well, as you all saw in the paper, we recently had a North Atlantic right whale and a calf swim all the way down south of where its usual area is, which is up around Canaveral, and was here for quite a while, and a great video of the calf rolling on mom's back and stuff like that. So we do have North Atlantic right whales. I believe that right whale has moved farther north. We didn't hear of it going any further south, but they were here. One of the last things we're trying to work closely with the Corps of Engineers on is there is a reduced scope but still required Section 408 review, which was reduced in scope because it's no longer a channel. That channel has been deauthorized under Word of 2022 or 2023. Next thing I'll update you on, we had a good partnering meeting today with the Corps of Engineers on our dredging, and we've got a commitment from Great Lakes to accelerate their mobilization of their dredge, accelerate the installation of the pipeline. We expect that work to start in approximately 20 to 25 days. We'll be monitoring it closely. Great Lakes is a company I've worked with many times, so I have contacts there so I can get the answers right from the horse's mouth in this one. And we're working as hard as we can to make sure it's here as fast as possible. The next update.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Would you show us where they're going to be dredging? I mean, what part is the problems, and where are they going to take most of the sand out of?
The shoaling that we have happens in two places. The southbound sand accumulates in this area, and then southeast waves spread some shoaling in this area. We have shoaling in both areas. The worst one is up in here, and it's been spilling in, and as the tide carries it in, that's created our 26 and 29 foot draft restrictions, low and high water. They will be attacking this first with the cutter suction dredge. That is much more powerful and moves a lot more fill than something like the Atchafalaya does the hopper. They were going to bring a hopper dredge in first, but one of their hopper dredges had a catastrophic failure, so they lost that one in their fleet, and they didn't have one. They were going to move one from New Orleans. That's out, so they're accelerating the cutter suction dredge. It will then be working all the way in. There's a lot of sand in the air around with this buoy area, and then they'll finish up some dredging that's in the vicinity of up along area D, we call it, and in the northern areas of the turning basin, a little bit down in the south end of the turning basin. That'll be the last they do. We'll be hitting the area that is affecting our shoaling and our draft restrictions first.
We're going to work with the pilots to make sure that, they're well aware of, how much sand. Do we have any estimate on how much sand we're going to take out and
This
put on
thing
the beaches?
could be close to 200,000 yards now. That tropical storm or Hurricane Nicole dumped a lot of sand on the beach, and it's moving south pretty fast. So we think it'll be one of the largest. 200 to 250,000 cubic yards is the estimate right now.
Thank you.
I'll next update you on our very exciting and moving forward Port Infrastructure Development Program. We have issued the request for qualifications from design build teams, and those will be due February 2nd. We'll then be, with your assistance, looking at those qualifications, shortlisting that group. There's no use having 25 people bid on this project when there's really only 3 or 4 or 5 that are competent to do this work. So it will be shortlisting that, and then we will be receiving issuing the request for proposal, and after that request for proposal, we'll have our contractor ready for selection between our work and the board.
Okay, you just said shortlist. You're saying the staff was shortlist, but if you have 5 or 6 people who apply, then we shouldn't shortlist anything. We should just see all of them.
We wouldn't be shortlisting. We expect a very large group to give us a request for qualifications, but there will be unqualified contractors in that group.
Okay.
So we'll bring that to a smaller list, and then I expect about 5 proposals.
To be
So
qualified. To
that are
qualify.
from the qualified. That won't require any short list.
Okay.
We'll bring those to you, and we'll see who we select.
Okay.
Last thing I'll update you on is we're moving forward with our approved renewal and replacement projects. We've already nearly completed the paving and drainage project at Merchants Warehouse. That's an approximately $750,000 project. We're issuing some requests for proposals for high mast lighting, and we'll be continuing modifying our high mast lighting with LEDs. And this is all part of the renewal and replacement that you approved. We'll be continuing with the project that have the most need first.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Government Affairs Report, Ms. Sapinski.
Commissioners, Richard Pinsky, Happy New Year to you all. I'm sorry I was not able to attend the swearing in, but congratulations to Commissioner Poole, Commissioner Das, and condolences to Commissioner Sicklin for being on the floor now.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm used to seeing you up on high on the dais, so
That's
it's a new view, it's a new
It's fine.
perspective. And congratulations, Madam Chair. The Tallahassee is well underway. We've had a couple of committee weeks, and there's a couple of hundred bills that have already been filed. Really nothing impacting the ports per se, but there are a couple of transportation packages that are going on. There's some set-aside money for road building, and the Florida Ports Council is contemplating some changes. I do need to apologize to now Commissioner Das, because when we chatted earlier, I remember saying to her, forget inland port, it will never happen. So need to walk that back. And there is a great need in Miami. And as Director Almira pointed out, the cruise industry is eating up land at Port Miami in leaps and bounds. They're totally, because they are paying for it, the infrastructure of the cruise industry, they are displacing cargo, and there is a need. And for the commissioners that were here and remember, while the Port of Palm Beach is not necessarily the great recipient of an inland logistic area, a distribution area, Miami is in sore need. Don't know where it'll go and all the way, if it'll go to Hendry County or it'll go south of the lake, but they do need to get rail. It is very real. The Ports Council lobby team followed up with the director conversation. Broward, again, is really not interested, but there is a need for cargo space in Miami-Dade County. They're built out. And that leads me to the next point, which is our growth as well. There are some funding issues, so in your packet before you, I've listed a few items that I've discussed with the staff. We've gone over, and then there's a few items that I want to bring to your attention. So today I'll be looking for a motion to at least endorse and adopt the first three. And I have copies if people like a hard copy. Commissioners Duncan.
Where is that?
I got it. So the first is what has been discussed before, and the commission has given their blessing on taking care of our western boundary, mitigating it with the impact to the neighborhoods, Riviera Beach Heights. And so going through possible locations, the logistics of the rail, and what possible site landscaping could be done, we sort of come up with a cost of somewhere around $500,000, 50% match. The port would be requesting $250,000. And Representative Tay Edmonds would be our House sponsor, and of course Senator Bobby Powell would be our Senate sponsor. The next is an item that has just come to my attention that I've talked to Director Almir about, and that is the Margaritaville cruise vessel wanting to not just be good stewards of the environment by reducing the fossil fuel use. Matter of fact, if you open those blinds right now, you will see black smoke coming out of the stacks. And so if there could be an electrical grid, near shore electric, for them to access, that would greatly help the environment. It would help the overall efficiency of the vessel itself. It is costly, but there is an opportunity to coalesce with other folks that may want to help secure it. And so we've put a price tag of approximately $4 million to do it. A 50% match would be a $2 million request, and again, Representative Tay Edmonds would be the House sponsor, and Senator Bobby Powell would be the Senate House sponsor, and Senator Bobby Powell would be the Senate sponsor.
Mr. Penske,
Yes,
with
ma'am.
the $2 million match, we would have to pay the $2 million, or can we pay it, because that's a lot of money for the Port of Palm Beach to have to hatch out, and so therefore we would have to try to find the other $2 million from somewhere.
Right.
Because if
So
it's
to
going to
answer
cost
the-
$4, or would
The line.
Right. So to answer the question specifically,
Or
the
can we
overall
receive a grant
cost of
for
the
the line?
project would be somewhere about $4 million, depending on when you end. It could end up being $5 million. So your FSTED money right now is committed a few years out. So that's why we're not necessarily running this through FSTED. But by the time this project would start, you would probably be freeing up. There's also a possibility of new dollars being appropriated this year for ports in general, which I'm going to get to in a moment. So by the time that, if this project is approved, and perhaps it's first a PD&E to get started, but you should be reflecting to the legislature what the need is, what the total cost is, and then the legislature will determine what they want to do or pare it down to get started. But you should be reflecting first what the ask is and what the port is willing to do if it has the funds.
Do you think we can receive any funds from the Florida Ports Council? At least part of the money we can ask for it through them?
Yeah, that's the
other match?
FSTED, right? That's
Okay.
the FSTED money. There's SPY money, which I'll touch on here in a minute. But
Okay.
the goal is to get it done and then represent that we are willing to have some skin in the game.
Okay.
The third item is for our own expansion needs, and that is the land acquisition for increased throughput capacity. I know there are some properties identified already, and I have been talking to former Port Commissioner, now Representative Catherine Waldron, who would like to attempt to get some land acquisition money. And again, asking $2 million in purchases, which would be $1 million from our end. We may have some of that money already earmarked that we could use as towards our match. So Representative Waldron would be our House sponsor, Senator Gail Harrell would be our Senate sponsor, and so those three items would actually, with your support and endorsement, would direct Carl Baker and your staff to go ahead and complete those requisition sheets so we can submit them, and then I'll just touch on the other items.
Commissioners, any questions? Commissioner?
Thank you. Thank you, Richard. The land acquisition, it looks like we may be doing this when we do it in 1 or 2 or 3 phases. How is the $2 million figure decided? Is that for a segment, if you will?
Correct, Madam Chair. So right now, there's properties identified that your port staff has already identified they'd like to do. They would like to do a little bit more if they had a little bit more money. So it would just be continuing. This would obviously be the target area. And so how much money do we have now? With a little bit more money, how much more could we get? So it's what our appetite is and how much we can bite off.
That number could obviously be a larger number.
Yes.
Was it pared down for a reason?
Part of it is there may be land acquisition money over and above. So there's another, which I'll get to in a minute. There's other things going on in Tallahassee that may help us. But your staff has already identified properties, has already some funding for this. So the goal of this would be, if they want to know, do we have any money? We want to be able to say, and we can legitimately say, yes, we have money, that we're doing this, but we want an additional $1 million over and above whatever we're putting in right now. So if we have actually 1.5 set aside, we can up this number to $3 million. We want to be able to say our money that we're putting in right now, we want the state to match that. So whatever number we have that we're willing to put towards properties, we want to ask the state to match that.
So it's not really a total $2 million. It could be much larger.
It's a lot more. As a matter of fact, Madam,
Go on.
how much money are we getting come July 1st? 2.5 million is already destined. We have it, yes?
Yes. We don't have the PTGA, but we will have the PTGA in July.
So we have the commitment. That's 2.5 plus this and maybe more.
So we could go up to $5 million, but I don't know if you want to, do that. So it all depends what your staff wants to do with this ask.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Think of this as a marker.
I guess because land is so expensive now, and I had the same thing in mind, $2 million, you can't buy anything. So thank you for explaining.
Not where I live.
More?
Okay, so with that, now what the Florida ports are banding together, and I'm going to work from the bottom of the page up. So there are the Port of Palm Beach, as well as the other ports, completed a wish list of projects, which included land, included other items, and probably would now include the nearshore power grid of $2 billion. So what the Florida Ports Council is doing is this 1 year only, non-recurring, will be asking for $300 million this year. If that is even partially successful, some of these projects that are in the first three categories could be moved into whatever one-time non-recurring money the ports get this year. So that may be moving some money around. In addition to that, going forward, because it's been since 2016, 2017, that FSTED was up from $15 million, as you probably recall, to $25 million. So now, this year, there's a legislative request, a bill going in that will move FSTED from $25 to $50 million, doubling it. So that would basically let the port ask for more money, free up some of those out years, and just give us a little more cushion as far as our FSTED funding request. And
For my benefit, what is FSTED?
FSTED is the Florida Seaport Economic Development Fund.
Trade in there too.
Florida.
That's okay. Commissioner
Florida
Sickland?
Transportation Seaport Economic Development.
There you go.
Sickland?
It's what it says here. When will the legislature or the governor, whoever decides on the amount, when does that come up?
Governor will give us a peek behind the curtain 30 days before session, so we're anticipating the first week in February.
Wow.
We're going to see what he is going to be suggesting.
Okay.
So that'll be the first glimpse, but he's looking at higher aspirations, and there are much larger ports than us all over the country that want to know what he will be doing as president for ports, and I'm sure he's going to want to point to Florida to say, look what I did for my hometown folks. We're hoping. And the last item is the SPY money, which is his discretionary money. As you recall, when Miami did their deep dredge, Governor Scott took $50 million. That all comes from the Strategic Port Investment Fund, called the SPY Fund. So they want to up that from $35 to $70 million to give that governor discretion. So if you look at these bottom three categories, something's going to happen this session. And when that something happens, then we'll be coming back to you to say, okay, do you want to put more money into the land? You know, how do we want to move this money around? But I'm confident going forward with these requests for the top three categories that something will happen that I think we can be assured of getting some help this session.
Okay. Any other questions?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good.
Commissioner reports. Are there any reports? I guess not. Okay, let's go on. Old business. Mr. Camara.
Yes, Madam Chairman, to provide an update on the pending Teeters and Monarch litigation. And just by way of introduction, we have two new commissioners. This matter involves port tenants that were in default of their various leases. They've been tenants at the port for several decades. This was widely reported in the paper, and in late March of 2022, they abandoned the property. They were over $300,000 in arrears. The Port Commission voted to take legal action against them. We did. We filed complaints in federal district court as it relates to the ship, Admiralty Law, federal Admiralty Law, and we filed a multi-count action in state court. And in about 6 months, we were able to, through a summary judgment motion, take control of the property, evict the tenants, if you will. And we also were able to obtain a damages monetary judgment in the amount of approximately $1 million. And that does not include the attorney's fees and costs, which we are also entitled to under the lease agreements that we had with this particular tenant. So now that we have the judgment, the step two is to execute on that judgment, to seize property that is owned by the companies and the principals. And I should say, one of the things that was really remarkable about this is they were in the business, Teeters, of exporting vehicles to Haiti. And at one time, I think there was 800 or 900,
960 some odd
vehicles.
cars. Yeah.
You can see some of them
Right.
crouched in a little corner there, but the staff really did a tremendous job. We were able to get us an order from the state court judge allowing us to have take control of the remaining cars. Now, the staff spent many months reuniting these vehicles with their owners. and again, hundreds and hundreds of vehicles, but there were still a couple of hundred vehicles remaining. So, and despite the best efforts of staff to reunite the vehicles with their owners, there was just a couple of hundred that we needed to move on. So we put out a request for bids. There was a successful bidder. Those cars are actively being removed as we speak.
We got paid.
Pardon me?
We got paid.
And we got paid.
$50,700.
Yeah, $50,000 for a couple hundred vehicles. But again, the most important objective, or one of the key objectives here, is to clear the property so that we can ultimately re-let. This is very valuable property. There's a lot of interest, external as well as with port tenants on this property. We've been doing site assessments. When you have 900 used, damaged vehicles, you have to make sure there are no environmental issues. So it's been really a huge effort by port staff over the last 10, 11 months. And in the court system, things don't typically move fast, but I'm pleased that we were able to make a lot of progress. So now we're at the stage of getting our money. And so we had sent out discovery at the end of last year. Teeters did not respond to the discovery. The deadlines passed, and couldn't even get a hold of their attorney, just they weren't returning calls. And so we filed a motion to compel, and that hearing took place this morning. And that motion was granted. The judge is about to enter an order compelling Teeters, Agency and Stevedore Inc. and Monarch Shipping Company to provide responses within 20 days or no later than February 8th, 2023. We're going to get sworn answers to our interrogatories in aid of execution. And these interrogatories are asking very detailed questions about property that is owned by Teeters and Monarch and their principals, both on port property and off port property. Real estate, personal property, anything that can be attached and recovered. So that is once again moving forward. As part of the order, that hasn't been entered yet. We expect that to happen within the next couple of days. But as part of that order, which was agreed to with the attorney and the judge, Teeters will be sending a representative to the port property to meet with Mr. Meekins so that they can. There's still equipment that Teeters has left behind. They claim that some of that equipment is not owned by them, it's rented. So before we can dispose of that equipment, we need to kind of ferret through what is rented, not owned by them, versus what is owned. That will be happening. I think he actually reached out to you this afternoon.
He did. We're hoping to schedule that for next Wednesday.
I have a quick question. Did the judge specify a remedy for if they continue to be non-responsive to the discovery?
Yes. So the failure of Teeters to timely comply with the order will be treated as contempt, an automatic contempt determination by the court, and result in an award to the port of attorney's fees and expenses that will also claw back to the fees and expenses incurred in this original motion. Mm-hmm. So they have an incentive to move quickly. And the court has reserved ruling on our request for the expenses incurred in bringing this motion forward. And we've also added some language to the proposed order to sanction the corporate officers. As you know, when you have a hearing, the judge rules. The attorneys try to negotiate an order. If they both agree, it's sent to the judge, and typically the judge signs it. We're going to put contempt language in that order. The Teeters attorney may or may not agree with it. If he doesn't agree, then it'll go back to the judge to resolve. And I'm based on what happened this morning, I'm fairly confident. They completely blew off, to use a legal term, all of the deadlines. There were multiple deadlines where they were supposed to get discovery. I think the judge's patience has been worn on this particular issue. So that's moving forward. And then just a little footnote, as you recall, we also arrested and seized the MS Monarch. That was sold. And we recovered the proceeds. Teeters also owns the MS Princess, which is at the Fort Pierce. The MS Princess was sued back in August by its insurance carrier. They never proceeded with the suit. We believe the cost of the custodian during litigation was more expensive than what was recoverable by the insurance company. So we think that the dock owner, who's owed a lot of money, and that money keeps growing, will wait until maybe another 3, 4, 5 months of additional dockage fees, and then they will seek to arrest the ship. It's not worth, because of what our interest in that ship is maybe $20,000, $30,000. We're just waiting on the sidelines. It's not worth spending attorney fees, and you don't spend $10 to chase $9. And so that's a kind of a quick overview on where we are with Teeters and Monarch.
Mr. Sickler?
How many cars are left?
We have 28 cars left. By noon this afternoon, they had moved 63 of them. So there's only 28 left, and they're making really good progress in 2 days.
Okay, so it's the one guy who bought them, all of them, and he's just...
Absolutely. He sent out a bunch of trailers from Tampa
Really?
and from down south, and he was not playing around. He's going to move them very quickly.
Nice.
Yeah, that was a condition of the sale.
Yes.
Is they had a deadline within which to get the vehicles off port.
And so he moved 900 cars.
No,
Total
the
of
port
900.
was able to give back 900 cars.
Right,
to their
900,
original
right,
owners,
we gave
somewhere
them back,
about there.
right. Okay,
There were
give or take.
93, 94 left,
Okay.
of which 63 are gone as of noon
Okay.
today, which just leaves us with the remainder of 28. And
That's good.
We're good and we're done.
Job well done, both of you. Thank you.
And congratulations on your verdict today. I also want to say that it's impressive that that we were able to act so quickly on this and get the motion for summary judgment granted in 6 months. I think that's maybe a record time for most courts.
Great, yes, thank you.
Okay, let's continue. Attorney Primero, we're now to I-2 and the selection process of an executive director.
Yes, ma'am.
I would like for you to start.
I have the ball on this one. I will tell you I've worked very closely over the last couple of months, frankly, with the clerk and with our executive director. And I'm going to also on this one, because we have 2 new commissioners, provide you a little bit of background and context to some of the key decisions that will be made today. At the November 17, 2022 commission meeting, Port staff presented a job description, a revamped, updated job description for the executive director position. And we also proposed a process and a timetable within which to complete the executive director recruitment and selection process. And I'm going to go over that very quickly, and I think that's in your backup materials. There should be a memorandum that outlines the recruitment selection process. So on or before November 21st, 2022, the advertisement for the executive director position was listed in a number of publications, including industry publications. On December 27th, that was a deadline within which resumes were to be submitted to Human Resources. By December 29th, Human Resources reviewed the resume and verified the employment and qualifications of those that submitted. On January 5th, 2023, the qualified resumes were sent to the Commission for review and ultimately shortlisting, which is what we are here to do today. Now, we received a total of 25 applications. 9 of the applicants were deemed unqualified. In other words, they did not have any port or port-related experience. 16 were deemed qualified. 1 of the 16 withdrew their application last week, I believe. And so now we have 15 candidates that are in your notebook materials that were provided to you last week. So today is the day when we're going to shortlist, the commission will be shortlisting, and the human resources will begin the process of scheduling one-on-one interviews. And obviously, because of a variety of issues, constraints, the interviews, you could do an interview, you can have one person sit here and do, in the context of a public meeting, do an interview. The commission opted instead, which I think is a more traditional approach, is to do one-on-one interviews. We'll talk about that shortly. Those interviews will be scheduled and held during the month of February. March 16th, and then this is the kind of the timetable that was presented to the commission back in November. But at the March 16th meeting, the commission is expected to select an executive director and at that time provide some direction so that the executive director employment agreement and compensation package can be negotiated. And then at the April 20th, 2023 commission meeting, the employment agreement and compensation package is to be presented to the commission for their consideration. There's also another option there that is going to be one of the decision points that I'm going to talk about now. I see really three key decision points where we need you to provide the staff with direction. One is, how many in-person interviews do you want to conduct? Now, we have 2 internal candidates, and the commission has already decided that as a matter of courtesy and right, those 2 individuals will be given the opportunity for an interview. So, again, we've got 15 candidates. Just by way of example, if you choose 3 external candidates plus the 2 internal candidates, that's 5. So that would be 25 individual interviews would be scheduled. If you can select, and again, this is where you need to decide, are you going to interview 2 internal plus 2 external, or 3 external plus the 2 internal, or 4? That's something that needs to be discussed today. So that's one decision. How many interviews do you want to conduct? The second is, what is the process to identify those individuals that are going to be interviewed? And I'm going to, we just got through a process about filling a vacant commission seat. This is a little different. I'm going to recommend that we can be a little bit less formal here. This is not a process to appoint the executive director. This is merely a process to identify individuals to be interviewed. And you have options there. That can range from each commissioner looking at the pool that's in your notebook, selecting 2 or 3 individuals or more. Now, what we don't know is how much overlap there'll be. In theory, if you each select 3, there could be 0 overlap, which means 15 external candidates plus the internal candidates. You're now looking at 50, 60 individual interviews when you add it all up. So that's one approach. Another approach is to use some sort of point system where you pick your top 2 or 3 candidates. So, your top candidate gets 3 points, your second candidate gets 2, and third candidate gets 1. And then you decide, based on who gets the highest number of points, how many you want to interview.
I was Mr. Sicklin.
Yeah, since I've done this, 8 or 9 times, I probably know a little bit more than most people. I think the point thing would be when we get the final group. I don't see how we could give anybody points now. We haven't even met them. So, and the interview process is very simple. So say if, like for myself, I mean, I found 3 candidates I thought were qualified plus our 2, so that's 5. But when we bring them in, I mean, that's, it's 15, 20 minutes. I talked to 5. The 2 candidates that we have here, I think that's kind of, we can talk to them at their convenience and our convenience. So if there's only 3, we can knock that off pretty much in a day. You start at 8 in the morning and go, and you can actually have, if there's 3, them in 3 different rooms. Commissioners come in, they go to one, they go to the next one, they go to the next one. I mean, it's worked in the past, so that's just my 2 cents, and it doesn't seem like when you talk about so many interviews, each of us will only have probably 5 interviews. So that's not a lot of time. That's my thought.
Okay, Commissioner Richards?
Yeah, I agree with the majority of those sentiments. We surely should not put numbers at this point. I think that's easy. We have the 2 internal candidates that we're going to forward on. I think we simply select, whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever the number is, determine how many candidates we then have, and we do speed interviewing, speed dating.
Yeah.
I think it's fairly straightforward. We do it here, as Blair suggested, in the building, set up rooms, and we can do it fairly quickly.
I think before.
I don't think we need to limit the number at this point. Hopefully, there won't be 15. I don't think there will be. I think there are a few that will stand out. I think that'll be fine.
I like that idea, but I think the interview should be no more than 20 minutes anyway.
Yeah,
I think before we did them in 20 minutes, and
Yeah.
then they just went in and out, and we had 1 week, and I think we can
Yeah.
do it.
Oh, yeah.
Now, if we select 3, you're saying 3 outside or 2 outside candidates?
I'm saying the opposite. I don't think we should limit at this point. Let's see what we come up with.
Okay.
Everybody turns a list in. Staff will then
So
say,
you
hey.
just check off who you want, and then they just cross-reference to see.
I would hope within some reason, of course. Yes.
Right. So there's a consensus that we would just look at the list and check off the ones we want. We can just check them, not even put numbers down, right? And then after we give it to Ms. B, and then she will just count in to see if we have a cross-reference, and then we'll look at, you give us a number of individual people. We could end up with 5 people, 3 of the same, or 10 or 12. Okay, and we'll go from there. So take this list and just check them off.
Can we circle them to make it easier? I know that
So we circle off whoever we want.
yeah, I think that's, instead of putting
I check.
X's or checks or.
For the record.
Or I just check too. I'll be fancy and check.
Yeah, please put your names on each of the
list.
The sheets.
I don't remember the exact name. Do you have the folder of the?
Sure.
Here, I have one.
That's just it. 3 people. Okay, 3 people. That'd be simple.
If you need my name, I didn't sign it.
How many are we checking off?
It's up to you.
They said it's up to you.
So Gene,
Do
we
they have
don't have
names?
to, we don't have to circle the 2 here, just, 2 or 3 or whatever you think. They're automatically, you can circle them if you want, get brownie points.
Would the board like to actually see the names projected because we haven't set up where we can?
Why not?
That's
How's the
fine.
attorney? Okay.
There's one more coming, Pete.
There's still one more coming. And while you're doing that, the third key decision point, this one you don't have to make today, although you can, is once the individual is selected, how are we going to engage in the contract negotiation? You can delegate the authority to negotiate the contract in conjunction with me to an individual commissioner, and then we bring that back to you. That's one option.
What we did in the past, when I was involved with Mr. Muir, is that the board decided the contract. We looked at the contract, and I would like for Mr. for you to make sure that each commissioner receives the contract. And then what we did was we went through the contract and checked off and added, and then the attorney, who was Greg Pickens, then he got back with each commissioner to see if they wanted to add something, delete, or whatever. And then after that was done, then the chair then negotiated, but they just negotiated the contract that we had selected. It's like the chair did not do their own thing. And so that's what was done in the past.
We can use the existing executive director contract as a starting point.
Yeah, all we have to do is cross off Manny's
Right.
name.
Mr. Richards?
The commissioners should work, may possibly the chair, with counsel in the negotiations with the finalists.
Yeah, and Gene, we all need a copy of Manny's
Right.
contract.
That's what I asked.
Yeah.
If
So
I may,
if-
I'd like to update it a little bit.
Yeah,
That's
right,
an old
exactly.
contract.
With the name.
Yeah.
Well, it needs some work.
And
I'm just
take off
joking.
all those extras that we gave him.
Yeah, right. That's a 1-second job. You don't have any.
I was just kidding.
We were just joking. He was just joking. And I was just joking. But I like
14
your
years
idea,
later,
Mr.
still
Richards,
having
and I
it
think
open.
we'll be okay. I think we'll be fine. And but if you can make sure that each commissioner receives a copy of the existing contract as soon as possible, I think
Yes,
that will
will
help
do.
us all out. Okay.
I mean, we've had plenty of contracts in the past, you know, a lot of directors, I think that, I've been 8 or 9, I think, right? And none as good as Manny, I gotta say that. Of course, I've said that every time. We try.
After you chastised me and told me I made a mistake.
I never would do that.
He did. Remember the meeting?
That wasn't me. That wasn't me.
I remember the meeting.
Our meeting?
I remember.
Yeah, I came in here and you guys gave me this. I remember that. It was a wild ride, I will say that. 14 years later, wild.
But I know that you're very happy you were selected, and you've done an outstanding job.
I thank you.
I really appreciate it.
Yes, I was happy
Really.
that I was selected.
But look how you changed. You can see.
I had hair and
And you're probably, what, 20 pounds, 25 pounds lighter, aren't you?
lighter.
Didn't you lose weight since then? or-
Blair,
I gained weight.
Okay, Blair.
Really?
Blair.
What? I thought you did because of, you know, you're on a pretty good diet.
Remember
Well,
when he had the cup?
Yeah, then I came down.
Oh, okay.
Commissioner Richards was,
Down, up,
you know,
down.
Now it'll go back up again because I have nothing to do.
Yeah, yeah. I know how that
He
is.
was handsome.
I
He had
trust
the
me.
cufflinks and the gold and all
I
this.
know how that is.
but you all took care of yourselves, though.
I'm just going to go ahead and put it up on the screen. Okay. All right. I think staff is ready. Let's go ahead and we're going to project on the screen here this.
I can't even see that.
Were we supposed to? They didn't say a number, so
He said you're reasonable.
okay. I know my top 3. Should I just go with top 3 or? I can change it. I don't want to. Okay,
I think that's reasonable.
sorry. I can change it. I know. my
That's all
top
right. We
3. I
could
wasn't
talk
sure.
about it. We can narrow it
I
down.
wasn't sure.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Can I?
While they're working on putting up the list on the screen, I can go ahead and call it out.
We're ready.
No, we need it on the screen.
Can I change mine? I think I circled it. I know with the 3 or 4.
Just, yeah, use that one, yeah.
You're out, you're out. There are a lot of qualified people. But for this port, I think it was
Well stated.
narrow.
Not as qualified as me.
No.
I remember the first meeting.
Yes, he didn't need one. He used his own car. He didn't need a car.
DeAndre, it was difficult.
So when we get the list, are we gonna, how, Gene? Okay, yeah.
There we go. Open up. There we go. Oop. I didn't even see it. Good.
Let's just put in a hat, we'll just pick one out. That's the easiest way to do that.
It's a long list.
Okay, let's try this again. I'll take a picture.
Set.
Are you ready?
Yep.
I can't even read it. My eyes are not that good.
Well, some of us circled the people that are currently here, so we got to just, they're already
Yeah.
got the golden key. Exactly. So that's a little confusing, so we've been.
So,
This will work a little.
Jara?
Whoops.
Whoops.
Hold on, I'm going to drop out
The 2 internal candidates will be removed.
Yes.
Oh, okay. That's a good way to do it. You just put them down anyway.
There we go.
May I, Madam Chair?
Yes, go on.
Is it safe to speak to this?
Yes, go on.
Okay, it looks at our 2 internal candidates, we're bringing them back, obviously. Looks like we have a top 3.
1, 2, 3.
One candidate only received 1 vote. Is it safe to discount that and move forward with the with James Dubé, Jorge Hernandez, and Jared Cazuera.
Yep.
Plus the three.
Yep.
May I make a motion, Madam Chair?
So you're saying the three with the top, which are 1, 2, 3, 4, Mr. DeBay, Hernandez, 1, 2, 3, and
I'll make a motion.
Gerald, 1, 2, 3. So you eliminate the one with one. I understand. Go on, sir.
With your
Yes,
approval?
yes, that's fine. Go
I
on.
move that our two internal candidates, along with James Dubé, Jorge Hernandez, and Jared Cazuera, be brought back for further evaluation by this board.
Second.
On board.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Now, since we've done that, we need to try to tie down some days for interviews. And I need to have direction from the board.
Well, I think the attorney needs to probably talk to the candidates and try to, see when, they're available and that, that kind
Well, I
of.
was thinking maybe the first week in February, starting the 29th, the 30th,
Yep.
and go on that week, because it appeared that most of these candidates, they're not from, are they out of town? Most of them are in the state of Florida. So it's not like we have to try to
All
pay
of
for
them.
someone, all of them.
Yeah, they're
We don't have to pay for someone to come fly in like we did before. So
We
they're,
need to make sure they're
right.
available, so
But
that's
I was thinking about starting on the 30th, and then the first 30th, the 31st, and all the way to the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd that week. If you can talk to them, because we're now the 19th, and so next week, you have all next week, and hopefully, if the board approves, start on the 30th, so we'll be ahead of time. Because it's going to take time that week for us to go in and schedule the times to make all of us available. So I was thinking, it's just me thinking, if you give them a call tomorrow and then try to work with them, and then they have a week to adjust their schedule, and then we can start maybe the week of the 30th, and then proceed
I think
until the 3rd of the month.
The clerk's office is going to go ahead and take the lead with
Yeah.
those logistics.
Right, but just an idea.
And I think if you
You'll be
could
okay?
find
Yeah.
a day where they could all be knocked out, that would be ideal.
In that week.
I
And
think
then-
at this point, it is, the date is best suited for the commissioners to give me a date. Once I call the candidates, they will have a week or a little bit more to adjust their calendar according to what is convenient for the board. So I just need a date from the board, and then we will schedule it around that particular date.
Any date with me
Yeah, I'm
on the
flexible.
30th all the way up to the 3rd.
Well, let's just give a date. How about Thursday, February 5th? Is that enough time?
Mm-mm.
No?
I'm not here.
You
Okay.
are here the other day, Gene? Is that weekend? The other days?
You can make it the week of the 30th?
You're looking at the month of January, Commissioner Ford.
Oh,
Oh, you're looking
I'm
at.
sorry.
Oh, okay.
What about Thursday the 2nd? That's Groundhog Day. I don't think anything is special about it, but
That's fine. That week is fine with me.
Okay.
From the 30th all the way. That week is
Yes.
fine.
Reality, you might want to have 2 days.
yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so any day of that week.
Yeah,
I'm fine.
Or the next week, it doesn't matter. That's, yeah, just see when they're available. I would say,
The second week I'm gone. The first
oh,
week-
you're going the
Right,
second week?
right. I'm like you.
First week is fine.
First week is
Okay,
fine.
let's try to get it the first.
The
first
30th,
through
the
third.
30th. Right.
Right, okay.
Right. That'll work.
So the first week of February works for everyone.
Right, the
Yes.
3rd through the 1st, to the 30th through the 3rd.
Tuesday's not good for me.
Okay, but we'll eliminate the Tuesday. That's fine. It's the
That's
31st.
January anyway.
Yeah, that's still, yeah, that's
Right.
not good.
Yeah,
So we'll eliminate
first,
the
second,
31st.
or third.
Uh-huh.
First, second, third, even the 30th. Are you free on the 30th, Dr. Poole? That's January 30th, 2
Yes.
weeks? Okay, so the 30th, he's not available on the 31st. So the 30th, the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd. Everybody, okay?
And you,
Are you okay with that?
Yeah, what time do you think?
Oh, I have no idea.
Okay.
That's what the attorney's gonna
They're
say.
gonna
That's
figure out
the
the time.
One other thing, so Commissioner Sicklin mentioned he needed 15 to 20 minutes. Can we go ahead and make them 30-minute time slots, or do you want more, less?
20.
20 minutes.
Yeah.
20 minutes. I think it's enough because we're talking one-on-one. It's not like, right, 20 minutes. I don't think we had 30 before.
And we can start
All right, that's
early
what we
in the morning, and we could, like we did before, though, we could have, 3 in different rooms, and we could kind of rotate. We can, I work with the board, but that's what we did numerous
9
times.
a.m. be a good starting
Yes,
time?
yes.
Anytime. I'm okay. I'm available.
So you'll figure out the logistics.
Yes, sir.
See? That's why we pay her the big bucks.
Any other questions, Commissioner, on the selection process? Okay. Do we need to vote on this? We don't need to vote on it, right?
No, ma'am.
No. Okay. Okay. That's it.
I do believe staff should prepare a list of general questions that this way each commissioner has it based. We can always supplement it, but we don't have 5 of us going there with different guns and balloons and bats. That's something we can definitely account for.
Right, because I think that's an excellent idea. Excellent idea to come up with things and staff in all the areas of support operations too. That
There
would
is
be a
one
good
thing,
idea.
though.
Yes.
So, before they come in and we start talking to them, how about if they start saying, well, what's the salary, and, what kind of, are we going to, how are we going to get that? How are we going to do that?
Well, as you know, we only budgeted a certain amount, but we will decide that after we select the candidate. Now,
Well, how about if the guy says,
well, we
select
just
him
say,
and we
hey,
don't know how much he's gonna make?
we have no idea. We're working.
That's not going to work.
And-
Mr. Attorney, help.
So,
Okay.
all right, so in the ad, you opted not to put a salary range. But you could argue that salary can vary based on the individual, their years of experience, how direct that experience is.
Right.
So it's hard to set you can set a range, but to
That's
set a number.
No, we have to have
It's
a
hard.
range, though, because
Yeah.
say if they come in and we hire somebody and we say X amount of dollars, and he goes, I'm not working for that.
But then,
Right.
Commissioner Richards,
And that's why we do need to have top 2.
that's correct.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right, and
Right.
before we had a
Very
second
good point.
candidate to fall back
Right.
on, just
Very
in
good
case,
point, yeah.
just in case they did not accept. Remember, Mr. Mayor, I told him by 12 o'clock, if I don't have it, then we go on to the next candidate.
Yes, you did.
Yes, I gave
I
him a
remember
deadline,
that.
12 noon.
What was
So
the-
we will select our first choice and then our second choice. And after negotiating with the first
Okay.
choice, and if that fails,
12 o'clock.
then
All
we
right,
go to
Gene,
the
let's
next
get
person.
going. You're running late.
Thank
Come
you.
on.
Any other comments about the selection process? Okay, now, comments from the public? I have none.
Well, wait. One-
That's
one-
it. There's no new business.
Commissioner, Madam Chair.
Last-minute candidate.
New
Last
business?
minute, last
Go
minute
on.
candidate here.
Is it too late to throw my name in?
Yes.
Yes. New business. I'm
Commissioners,
sorry.
See
thank
the
you for this
compensation,
opportunity. I was remiss and I forgot to mention Palm Beach County Day.
Oh, that's right.
As you know, annually, it's March 8th. Opening session is March 7th, so it's a reception that night. The next day, economic council, everybody from Palm Beach County goes. Commissioners and the board have participated before. $1,000 sponsorship. I'm getting into Director Almira's area now, but there are 2 registrations. I think it's $4,000 for 3 registrations. But because we are going to be asking for some funding this year, if not during Palm Beach County Day, I would suggest at some point we think about commissioners going to Tallahassee. If you've never been before, Palm Beach County Day is a great day to do it. I think Dr. Poole, you've been up before and whatnot. So anyway, I want to throw that out and encourage you to what? Okay, with you. I mean, how
Sure, I'll be calling.
Yeah.
Find
Okay.
out.
The chairman
Any
will
other
be
new
there.
business?
Right?
That's right.
Well, we have new commissioners who I know
That's
would
true.
love to attend.
All right, yeah, stick it on the newbies.
I did kind of want to go, but is it only one of us that gets to go?
No, anybody can
No,
go. Yeah.
whoever wants to go, you're welcome to attend.
Okay, well, that would be wonderful, and I would love to travel with any one of you. And
Whoever wants to go, you're welcome to attend. Any other new business? No? Okay, now we'll start with commissioners. Comments from the public, we have none. Now comments from our commissioners. I'll start with Commissioner Nadash. Any comments?
this was a wonderful meeting, and I think it was very productive.
Commissioner Richards, thank you.
I'm such up there. I'm kidding. Very good meeting, Gene. I agree.
Thank you.
I finished. But I like it. Gene, keep it moving.
I looked at the clock.
Thank you. I met with staff today, and we spoke about a few different things. We heard the report from council. This is known as the Mullins property here. And all these cars are going to Haiti. They use the horn. That stuff's over here. And that stuff in many places. They got away from us. But the good news is going forward, we're going to keep a much closer tab on that operation. But I believe it's very critical that we maintain shipments to Haiti. Haiti depends, the Palm Beach County Haitian population depends on the Port of Palm Beach. So we're looking at the master plan, we're talking about moving tenants around, but we definitely need to have a firm plan in place to recommence shipments to Haiti sooner than later. I'm not okay with October, November, December, or whenever. So at our next meeting, let's talk about that.
Okay.
We need to lock it down, come up with a plan, come up with timing, so that we do recommence staying.
Michelle.
He needs us.
Mr. Mayor, haven't you received calls from different companies interested in taking on the project?
I have, and most of the calls that we've received, that I've received, Michael has received, there are out-of-state companies that are operating out of Massachusetts, for example. They're operating out of New York. They would be ready, willing, and able to come in. Now, the standard answer from us is we don't have the room now. We will. So I hear the commission. By February, we'll have some kind of a plan to move forward. And there's really not much we can say other than, yes, there's this pent-up demand. That's a fact.
The good news is we have options. It's just trying to figure out where to put it, put the pen on the map and make it happen.
Correct.
But guess what? We're going to put the pen on the map. We're going to make it. We got to make it happen, guys.
Yep.
Right, because they have been, support from the community is important, very important.
And while I have the mic for 1 second, the Mullins property, happy to hear that most of the cars are already on their way out. Once that is clear, we're also trying to move the trailers. There are 2 trailers in there, relocate those trailers somewhere in the vicinity. Then that would allow us to clean up that area. That is, to level it and put asphalt on it. So that Mullins property, at least not in the very near future, will be able to be used, possibly October timeframe. However, we have identified another area further south that may work perhaps even better than the Mullins property. So we'll come back in February. We'll give you the plan and see where we go from there.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, thank you. Commissioner?
Just wanted to say it was great to spend a little time with Ms. Farinas, Uremi, and Rick, and to get a chance to see the security features that are in place and other ones that are coming online. So I think the port is in good hands. And I also add that from the newsletter, I know Ms. Jones is in the back, that she's celebrating 24 years of service to the port. So, just wanted to acknowledge that commission is 24 years here at Port of Palm Beach. So, thank you for your service there. Sorry.
Thank you.
That's it.
Commissioner Sickman?
Yes, piggybacking on Commissioner Richards' comment about service to Haiti, my one question would be, if the Teeters, who were there for 50 years, couldn't make it happen, I think we really need to dig deep. So
I have the answer.
what?
They made, there was money hand over fist. The family fought. Those of us know that. The family fought. There was money hand over fist.
But once there was a kind of a semi-coup in Haiti, well, that's what we'll find out.
I'll answer it now. The shipping lines out of South Florida are going gangbusters to Haiti.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. That's the lifeblood for Haitians in Haiti.
Okay.
So the cargo's moving.
Really? Okay.
You,
See, I don't
you,
have
you
any
need
idea.
people who know what they're doing and who aren't fighting every day.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's what we have the staff for. So.
Right, and we need to continue to do our job. And like Commissioner Richards said, we have to keep our eye on the ball because some things happen that should have never happened before. And they're looking forward, the Haitian community, I know that they want us to continue to ship things there because going to Fort Lauderdale, Miami, it's not really working out for them. So
We'll make sure.
we will.
We'll make sure, Commissioners, that whatever we come back with will have enough protection from the port's point of view.
Okay.
So this doesn't ever happen again. That is abandoned cars and then no sailing because they can't get a ship and no sailing and no sailing. Well, one lesson we learned is we will close the terminal and you will not be able to accept any more automobiles. That's how we got in trouble with Teeters. So you'll see it. You'll see our plan.
Okay.
I just wanted to quickly add, in terms of the inland port, I know you guys have been through this exhaustive, ad nauseum in the past. So I'm hoping that you will be better informed as to what we should be on the lookout for before we determine if we're, our level of involvement.
Okay, we will.
Let's find out what Port of Miami's up to.
Right,
Exactly.
because we don't know.
And then we'll come back to you, each of you, and then let
We
you
have no
know
idea.
what's going on there. Yeah.
Okay, I would just like to thank the staff for doing another outstanding job. And I'm just going to say that you work night and day for us, and we really appreciate the staff. Happy New Year. This is our first meeting in January, and our next meeting is February 16th at 4 p.m. Our meeting is adjourned.